Hello, everyone, and welcome to EduMatch. Follow along with us at tinyurl.com/tweettalk69b, as well as on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, if you want to be the featured person of the day and connect with other educators around the world and join our network of over 20,000, then you can do so on our website at edumatch.org. Now, tonight we have a very, very important topic. We're going to be talking about stopping human trafficking. So we're just going to have the panel members introduce themselves briefly, and then I will turn it over to our moderator. So if we could please have Leah introduce yourself first.
Okay. Hi, EduMatchers and everyone else. My name is Leah Kurtz. I am a instructional technology coach north of Atlanta, Georgia, in Cobb County Schools, working primarily with high schools, but in my spare time, I do some volunteer work with an organization here in Atlanta that advocates and reaches out to human trafficking victims and survivors, and so that's my background on it.
Fantastic. Welcome back to the panel, Leah. Great to have you back. And then next, if we could have Alison, please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Alison Bedker, and I am president of Gateway to Hope. Gateway to Hope focuses on survivor support, awareness and prevention, as well as collaboration. So we do interact with survivors and try to support them in their recovery.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. Thank you so much, Alison, for joining us. Next, if we could please have Mary Lou introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Mary Lou Cole. Justice Foundation. Our focus is getting awareness and education into the public school system. We also do some level of survivor support.
Fantastic. Welcome, Mary Lou. Very glad to have you here. Next, let's have Nate. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, this is Nathan Cole from the Michigan Abolitionist Project. I lead what we call our Freedom Coalition, and it's a collaborative group of experts in our area who are dedicated to a collaborative solution to human trafficking in our region. I also lead what we call our End the Demand initiative, which deals with the demand side of the human trafficking issue. And Michigan Abolitionist Project together as an organization is more side of the issue as well. So we do a lot of education, engaging with the community, and we do some direct work with survivors as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And last but not least, we have our awesome moderator, Ron. So if you could please introduce yourself and then take it away.
Hello, I'm Ron Madison. I'm an instructional technologist and designer of Genesee Intermediate School District. I've been in education for 22 years, special ed prior to that. But this passion actually grabbed a hold of me through my missions at my church, Detroit World Outreach. Got to give a plug, hey. And anyway, when they were discussing this, it just really pulled on me and said, you know what, this also affects educators and the general public. So I would like to start off with Leah, asking her, what is human trafficking and how does it affect educators and its students?
Thank you, Ron. Generally speaking, when we're talking about human trafficking, we're looking at men, women, children who are really, they're slaves. They are sold into sex slavery. I think we have a lot of misconceptions when you talk about prostitution. You're really talking about sex trafficking, human trafficking, slavery. It's definitely going to be an impact on educators and students in that the vast majority of people who are involved in human trafficking, who are being trafficked, are moving into that life very, very young. And like Ron, you were saying, this really took a hold of me through my church too. It's especially disturbing to me because I have teenage daughters, but we're looking at, 11, 12, 13-year-olds being kind of hustled into slavery, actually physically kidnapped into slavery, and the sort of downward spiral that leads to them actually living in prostitution and really having a very difficult time getting out.
Thank you. And again, normally I laugh a lot, but because I have 3 daughters,
Yeah.
I can't laugh about that.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to ask Alison, as someone who works directly with human trafficking and the survivors, what should educators look for in the terms of warning signs?
Okay, well, that's a very tough question to answer because the warning signs of human trafficking look like so many other things. It looks like domestic violence. It looks like drug addiction. It looks like bullying. It looks like, you know, just all those types of things, child abuse, stuff like that. So a lot of times it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly what it is. Warning signs are going to depend on the vulnerability that's being exploited, the tactics that's being used, as well as the relationship the trafficker has with the victim. In the United States, there's a very low percentage of victims that are actually kidnapped. It's below 5%. Around 30% are trafficked by their own family members. So trafficked by someone else, right? They've been coerced into it. In the situation of kidnapping, the warning signs are going to be already been restraints and the members for a really long time, so you won't see a drastic change overnight. It'll look more like child abuse and those types of signs that would present. And then for the situation where the victim is coerced by someone else, there's generally 2 different phases. There's like a recruitment phase, and then there's the full-on trafficking phase.
So I'm gonna jump in.
Make sure that, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you because you still had a line there, so I'll let you keep going.
Okay, so the one thing I want to make sure I stress is that prevention is always better than rescue. So when addressing the vulnerability before it's exploited is always the right thing to do. It takes a lifetime of recovery and aftercare once somebody is trafficked.
Okay, so you mentioned prevention, and I will move to Mary Lou, but I just want to say, could you just give me one quick way that you guys would share prevention with educators or students?
I would say take a look at the vulnerabilities, right? So if poverty is always a big one. Any child who is in poverty or homeless, you need to get an intervention into their life. After school programs, getting, girls that have daddy issues, getting them involved in clubs at school, getting them involved in sports, something that will take up their time, something where they have a mentor that they can form a relationship with, which will help them make better decisions.
Great, because that moves us right into Mary Lou. What can school administrators, faculty, staff do with the threat of human trafficking and to keep their students safe? Mary Lou, could you take it?
The main thing, first of all, is to know what to look for, as Alison stated. We must become really the signs, and educators are in a prime position because they spend so much time with kids that they can really see changes in behavior. There can be physical changes, there can be behavioral changes. The girl may show up with, expensive clothing, jewelry, expensive items that she could not afford otherwise. They may be psychologically, disengaged, so to speak. Their grades can drop, their attendance can drop. So there's a myriad of things that can send a flag up for the educator. But at the bottom line is that we need to understand that to look for, first of all, and that the unstable family situations are a key, as Alison stated. So those are vulnerabilities. And once there is a question or a potential danger, there really needs to be protocol that is followed by the educators and administrators. They certainly have protocol in place for child abuse and things like that. So if it's an emergency situation, they would always call 911. contact CPS if there's any indication of child abuse or things like that. But they have to build a protocol. They have to establish policies and protocol, and partnerships are also very helpful. There's a lot of help that they can get, schools can get to establish those protocols. Some of the DHS offices even have those protocols already established on their end. So it's following the policy or protocol that is in place or adding an addendum to a current child abuse policy. So training staff, and when we say staff, we really talk about everybody across the board, from the bus driver to the nurse to the counselors, the teachers, the administrators. Everyone needs to know what this looks like and what can be done. But reporting, of course, mandatory reporting is in place. But I guess the main thing is speak up. If something doesn't look right, speak up. And there are hotlines that they can call and different things that they can do as well.
Does your organization help with schools to set these type of trainings up for their staff?
Oh, yes, we certainly can help. We go to high school, attempting to get into the middle schools, because as I believe Leah said, the average age is very young, and some even as young as 9 years old are being recruited into the trafficking life. And so, yes, we absolutely do training for counselors, teachers, administrators, social workers, superintendents. We've done them successfully, and some of the schools are now looking at trying to bring the curriculum into the ninth grade health class, so that every student coming through that high school will receive it. There is very credible curriculum out there that is not real explicit. It's age appropriate and very beneficial.
Well, thank you so much. Nate, how can we begin to address the demand side of fueling sexual trafficking industry? If you would share with that, please.
Sure. Well, I think just thinking about it as sort of an economic issue, there's a supply and there's a demand side of the equation. And one of the things that we've recognized is that there's an incredibly high demand for commercial sex, and that's what's driving the human trafficking industry. And so what we as the Michigan Abolitionist Project have attempted to do is we have an initiative, again, called End the Demand, which is trying to address the human trafficking issue by reducing that demand that's fueling it. So we've identified a few ways that we can do that. One of the primary ways is by addressing the issue of pornography. Independent peer-reviewed research that has demonstrated the negative impacts of pornography on the human brain, affecting the chemistry in the same way that hard drugs do. It also affects the dynamics in human relationships, in understandings about sexuality, and it also contributes to major societal ills such as human trafficking. And so that's one major thing that I think needs to be addressed, particularly at the middle school and high school levels, because with the recent advent of the internet and social media, this is sort of a pervasive issue now, where, you know, previously in generations past, you'd have to go to a certain place or buy a certain product in order to access this material. But now with the click of a button, you know, kids that are very, very young have access to the most deplorable content that you can imagine on a very regular basis. And it's highly addictive. It's many times aggressive and violent. And we really want to limit that exposure and give a healthy perspective on that issue. So part of that could be introducing certain curriculums into the health programs at the middle school and high school level that talk about this issue. We also have campaigns that we're attempting to run to address this issue. In addition to addressing the pornography issue, there are many groups around the United States that are doing demand abatement programs of one type or another. So there's a group called Buyer Beware in Seattle. They're actually running online ads that target Google users that are searching certain keywords, and they direct them to ads that talk about, these are particular users that are searching for commercial sex, and it directs them to websites that give them more information about the consequences, the potential harms of that, what some of the resources for might be to get help. So we're doing something similar to that as well. There's many, many other efforts around the country. Some police departments are putting decoy ads on websites like Backpage, and they're actually intercepting calls from potential buyers and directly engaging with those buyers and even making arrests and convictions off of some of those engagements. We're also looking into supporting John schools for people who have engaged in this type of behavior. and trying to correct that and rehabilitate that to some degree to reduce the recidivism on that end. But there's many things that educators can do. And again, one of the primary things for educators in particular would be to address views on sexuality, views on the issue of pornography, creating an environment where healthy, sustainable human relationships can be developed and that human dignity is sort of restored in those environments.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Leah had another comment. Leah, would you comment?
Sorry, I had to unmute. I just wanted to, yeah, I'm trying to follow the rules. Yeah, Nate was talking about the link between pornography and human trafficking, and I just wanted to throw out really quick that Georgia, in this most recent election, beginning of November, actually proposed a constitutional amendment referred to as the Safe Harbor Amendment, and it is actually a tax on pornography adult establishments in order to create a fund to contribute to medical and mental health care for sex trafficking victims. So that link is definitely, like Nate was saying, clearly established, and this is, my understanding was, this is one of the first amendments that actually provides a legal link between the two of them. So it's moving, you know, slow, but.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I just want to put two nuggets in there as well. For those who aren't aware, one of the largest growing crimes is sexting, and our younger people are getting exposed more and more to this, which, listening to our panelists, starts to drive us down this path that could be human trafficking. And the other thing, it's nothing to be proud of, but just being aware, I've learned that Detroit area has one of the highest trafficking areas. And one of the times that it's even peaked, if I'm not wrong about this, you guys can correct me, is around when they have big conferences like the International Car Show, because people are coming in from all over the world, and it's affecting our community. So we definitely have to be aware of this. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I'm going to now turn it over to Sarah.
All right. Thank you so much to everyone who was on panel tonight. Thank you to Leah. Thank you to Allison. Thank you to Mary Lou. Thank you to Nate. And thank you to our awesome moderator, Ron. Thank you to everyone who is interacting with us on Twitter, as well as everyone who is watching. So the Twitter chat will be transcribed and the audio will be available as an iTunes podcast in the coming weeks. So next week at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have an authors panel on EduMatch. So please join us for that if you're interested. Anyone can be a panelist. Just sign up at tinyurl.com/EduMatch sign up. Just wanted to remind everyone that registration for EdCamp Voxer is open. So edcampvoxer.com, EdCamp Voice on Voxer is the new official name. So please sign up. We'd love to have you at the end of December. Also, you can subscribe at bit.ly/EduMatch podcast. And I'm going to turn it over to Ron. He says that he has one more shout out.
Yes, my one shout out is to thank Sarah. I just want to thank, I know you don't like hearing that kind of stuff, but I have to do it anyway, because like, again, this tugged on me and I wasn't sure if this would be the platform to even share it. But as hearing what the panelists said and how us as educators who actually push forward, not to be passive, but proactive, this was definitely a doorway to move forward. And hopefully we'll get to have additional ones to follow up with. So I did want to give a special thanks to you for allowing this to happen, and to happen so fast, because I know you're booked a year in advance. So the panelists, if you guys didn't know she's the real deal, woo woo, I'm just saying. So thank you again, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. That's very, very nice of you. So really, I really appreciate you all taking the time to be here today and to share your insight on this much needed conversation. This is definitely one of the more serious EduMatch episodes that we've had. So definitely thank you so much for sharing your insight and shedding light on a topic that I personally didn't know a lot about. And I learned a lot from hearing all of you today. So definitely wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday season, and hope to see you next week. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Sarah.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.